everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Crystal, just in case you are new here, and today I have my February wrap-up and my March TBR for you guys. In the month of February, I read 6 books, and that's pretty good for me. I also DNF'd one, and we will get into that in just a minute. I just want to say, in case you guys are wondering, I have a burn on my neck, so I'm sorry if that's distracting to you, but I have to wear this band-aid. I would love to say that I got bit by a vampire, but that's not true. So just be careful with your curling irons, girls, because they can really mess you up. No joke. Be careful. Anyway, so getting into my February wrap-up, like I said, I read 6 books. I read 1 reread. I DNF'd 1 book. I would say this was a pretty successful reading month for me because February is such a short month, and I just normally don't read that much in the beginning of the year. I don't know why. This always happens to me. January and February are always an issue with reading, and then once the spring comes back around, then I get back into reading. But I'm really shocked how much I did get done reading-wise in February. First book that I read in February was The Dead Zone by Stephen King, and I actually really enjoyed this. Not as much as I thought I was going to. I think I went into it thinking it was going to be something else, and then it was. I love books about psychics and, you know, psychic phenomena and things like that, and I really thought this book would touch more upon the dead zone, where our character John, his consciousness goes when he's, you know, speaking to the other side, basically. It starts off with our main character John when he's a kid, and he receives this head injury that causes him to kind of be in like 2 worlds at once in a way. And then as he grew up, he kind of grew out of that, and as an adult, he finds himself at a fair with a girl of his dreams, and he plays this game called the Wheel of Fortune, and he's always had a little inkling his whole life. He ends up having great fortune with this game, and when he leaves, he gets into this severe accident that puts him into a coma for 4 years. And now this coma introduces him deeper into the dead zone. So I really thought this book would be a little bit more focused on the dead zone. Like I said, it ends up being a little bit more of a detective drama, and John helps the detectives solve murders and, you know, kind of track down the serial killer type thing. So in that way, if you like that, this is a lot of people's favorite Stephen King book, and especially if you listen to the Losers Club, a lot of them really love this book, and it comes highly recommended by them. It's just not as spooky as I wanted it to be. It's not as, like, I thought he'd be talking to dead people kind of thing, so I didn't really enjoy it as much as I thought I would. But I really enjoyed the story. There's romance in here, heavy romance. I would say this is a good book to read around Halloween time in the fall. It is a very fall-esque, like the atmosphere is great of this book. You feel like you are in autumn when you're reading it, and it does mention October a lot in this book when things are happening. So I definitely suggest it for that, but it's not like a haunting Halloween type book, if you know what I mean. It's just more of a atmospheric type read if you're looking for that. But like I said, 3 out of 5 stars. Not my favorite, but I'm so glad I read it and I'm able to check it off my TBR. The next book I read is The Wastelands by Stephen King. This is book 3 in the Dark Tower series, and my favorite book so far in the series. Not that far into the series just yet, but I really love this. I feel that I got to know the characters so much more in this book. I don't want to go too much into detail, but if you are someone who loves Stephen King and wants to read his fantasy series, you really should. It is just so good. And he just does what he wants in this is his fantasy world, and he, you know, he calls people, the types of people in this world, pubes. Like, it's just really funny, what he just pulls out of his hat, but at the same time it's very, very clever. And this is probably one of the most exciting fantasy series that I've ever read in my entire life. I don't know what I was missing out on and why it took me forever to pick this up, but I am so happy that I did. And yeah, I'm gonna definitely be finishing this series this year for sure. This was a 5 out of 5 star for me. The next book that I finished on my TBR was for our Horror in 24 readathon. So if you did participate, let me know. Leave a link to your channel if you have a wrap up of what you read for Horror in 24's 24 in 4 readathon. It was so much fun. Thank you guys for participating. It had such a bigger turnout than I ever thought it would be, and we just had a great time taking over the Instagram. So thank you guys so much for participating, and we have so much more coming for you in the future. So the first book that I read for that was Cycle of the Werewolf by Stephen King, and this was my first read of this novella-esque illustrated version of this book. I really liked it. It was like exciting. It was pretty gruesome and very scary. So if you're looking for like a Stephen King horror-esque like novella, check this out. It was very, very spooky. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It's not my favorite, but it was a great read to add to a readathon. So if you're looking for a short book to add to any readathon that you're participating in, I definitely suggest checking it out. It was a fun read and it was quick. I read it in one sitting with my cup of coffee in the morning. It was perfect. The next for that, I read The Burning Girls by CJ Tudor, and that was an e-copy. I actually had like an arc from NetGalley that I never got to, so I decided to pick that up. 5 out of 5 stars. That was one of the best horror novels that I've read, I guess this year, but there's not much this year, but in a very long time. I haven't been that invested in a story, and it was so cool. There was a lot of occult aspects to it, but it also involved the church, and it was a ghost story, it was a crime story, it was all types of horror thrown into one. One of our main characters, she is like a Lydia Dietz type character, so her personality just was probably one of my favorite characters in the story, and just picturing like Winona Ryder as this character, it was just really cool for me. I loved it so much, and I don't really always agree with CJ Tudor's books. I like half of them. Like, I didn't really enjoy The Chalkman. I didn't really enjoy The Hiding Place, but I enjoyed The Other People, and I enjoyed this one. You could just tell that CJ Tudor's writing is getting better over time. So I really, really enjoyed that. I highly recommend it. As a horror reader, I think you will love it. It has all aspects into one, and I'm a horror reader that's getting more into like crime fiction right now because it's like real life horror. It is part of the horror genre, guys, so I'm definitely loving incorporating a little bit more crime fiction into my TBRs. That was it for that readathon. The Burning Girls kind of took up a lot of my time. I started reading Craven Manor by Darcy Coates on my Kindle as well, but I never got to finish it, so I can't really count it exactly. I can't give it a rating, but I'm really enjoying it. If you like those types of books where it's just like your basic ghost story, it has like a perfect format, so it kind of just follows the story. Darcy Coates puts them out. They're like cookie cutter books, but they're always so spooky. The way she describes her ghosts are very scary, so it does give you those creepy crawlies. And it's the perfect ghost story. All of her books really are. I never read any of them that I really hated per se, so I definitely recommend her writing if you're looking for like a supernatural type ghost story. Then next I read Lars Kepler's The Sandman, and this is a Juna Linna book. This is like a dark, like Nordic noir style book. It is a translated book. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it. It was a really fast-paced book, and if you love thrillers, you'll love this. It was just, you could tell a little bit that it was translated, so it was a little slow at some points, and for a 500 and something page book, it kind of did drag a bit, but it does have very, very short chapters, so you'll find yourself flipping through the pages so quickly. I think I read this book in like 3 days. Definitely a great summer read if you're looking for something quick to read, but I just loved it. It's a serial killer book, and you're following this detective who is trying to put the serial killer away, but while at the same time there's copycat murders happening, and the serial killer has like control over other people that are committing these crimes. It's just so good. and I really enjoy Lars Kepler's writing. I'm enjoying reading more into this series. Like I said, I want to incorporate more crime fiction into my TBRs every month because I feel like it's a genre that a lot of us are missing out on, especially if we're horror readers. We don't always have to read supernatural type horror, and this is, you know, kind of like watching these serial killer documentaries on Netflix that I really enjoy, but a lot more in depth and a lot more of, you know, a world to be a part of. So highly recommend Lars Kepler's books. I'm a fan. Then the next book that I read was A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J Maas. This was my reread for the month. Really enjoyed it the second time around. I actually listened to the audiobook most of the time, and it really was such a fun audiobook. I kept wanting to pick up this copy and read it, but I kept thinking in my head as I'm reading, I want to listen to the audiobook. Like, I love the narrator. I felt like I was like listening to Farah speak to me. So I highly recommend the audiobook if you want to reread, because it kind of introduced me to like another realm of these books. So I really enjoyed reading this a second time, and can't wait to pick up A Court of Silver Flames. And then my DNF for the month was What Big Teeth by Rose Szabo. Unfortunately, this is our book club pick for the month of February with the Stacks of Strange book club. Our live show is March 4th, which is tomorrow as I'm filming this. I just didn't love this. I felt that it was just like a family drama type book. Like, I was wanting more horror to happen, and I felt that by the halfway point, nothing really happened. We were just getting really involved in this family and their dynamic, and yes, they're like werewolves, but there really wasn't much horror to this story at all. And it just is more confirmation for me of why like a lot of new young adult books are just not working for me anymore. I'm just not enjoying it. I just don't understand the writing anymore. It's not that it's a bad book, it's just someone my age at 33 years old, it's just not fitting for me anymore. As with like Sarah J Maas's books or Cassandra Clare's books, I feel that they are good for all ages and everybody can get something out of them, that type of fantasy. But a lot of these newer authors, they're writing very inclusively, which is great, but there's not much plot. And we want story, we want fantasy, we want some horror. Like, if you're gonna label a story horror, we want that. We want to know what, you know, we want to hear some gore in here. We want to see some gore in here, or, you know, some type of werewolf story. And I just felt like it was a family drama, and I was bored. I was bored beyond bored. I never really DNF book club books, but I just couldn't do it to myself. So sorry guys. If this is a favorite book for you, definitely a cover buy. I'm gonna keep it because I love the cover, but the contents inside are not as good as the cover. Okay, so that is it for my February wrap up. Those are all the books that I read in February, and I'm very, very happy with myself with what I've read. But next up is my March TBR, and this could grow because we actually have like 5 weeks, almost 5 weeks in March. So I could end up reading a little bit more. Hopefully I have some arcs I have to get to, but this is my stack of large books that I would like to get to this month. The first book, and one that I'm already reading, is The Sanatorium by Sanatorium? Am I saying that correct? It's by Sarah Pierce. This is a locked room mystery type book, thriller, horror book. It's about an abandoned asylum that they turn into a hotel, and our main character is there when they turn, and just things happen, I guess. I don't really know much, but anything about a haunted old like mental asylum, I'm totally there for. If you guys didn't know, I'm a huge fan of ghost adventures, so I love watching things like that. So reading things like this is gonna be really good. I hope there's some ghost apparitions happening in this as well, because I'm just in the mood for a ghost story lately. I mean, I'm always in the mood for a ghost story, but I'm really in the mood for a ghost story. So I'm looking forward to this. It's a Reese's book club pick, which I'm a little shocked about. So like, I don't know if it's going to be like super dramatic, so we shall see. But my friend Abby at Crime by the Book on Instagram, she recommends this book. She really enjoyed it, so I trust her recommendations. I always do. So I'm going to pick it up, and I already started it, and I want to say I'm like 30 pages in, and I'm spooked already. So we'll see what happens. The next on my TBR is this beauty, A Court of Silver Flames. I'm so excited to read this. I wanted to read it last month, but obviously I could not get to it, but I'm excited to read it in the month of March. It's an 800-page book, and I'm very excited to invest my life in it. This is Nesta's story with Cassian. I'm sure we will have some guest appearances in here as well from past characters from the other books, but this is the 4th book in A Court of Thorns and Roses series, so I don't want to spoil much for you, but it is romantic along with our fae magic that I love so much. I never liked fairy anything. I was not a fairy fan, especially like practicing witchcraft and things like that. Fairies always spooked me out, and I never really was a big fan of them, but as I'm growing as a practitioner and someone who loves herbalism and my garden, I'm really respecting fairies a lot more, so I'm loving the folklore of this and the intrigue and the fantasy world that A Court of Thorns and Roses has brought to me. Also, if you know a lot of like Celtic and pagan folklore, Sarah J. Maas pays homage to that a lot in these books. She does name characters after gods and goddesses from those areas of the world and from those pagan practices and folklore. So it's really cool to see that play out. If you're someone who follows that, you'll know as well. So I really respect her doing her research, and I just love fairies now. I just do. So I can't wait to get into this book. And a lot of people didn't like Nesta. Nesta was a lot of people's least favorite character, but I saw a lot of myself in Nesta. So I really liked her a lot more than Feyre, believe it or not. So I'm really happy that Sarah J. Maas took the series to the next level, and we're gonna see a lot more inside of Nesta's brain and inside her heart, and I just can't wait. Next up is Later by Stephen King. I started reading this morning, actually, as I was getting ready for filming and all that, and I am loving this so far. This is exactly what I thought The Dead Zone was gonna be. This is about a kid who sees ghosts. He is like a medium. He sees them before they cross over, and his mom wants him to kind of keep the secret because she doesn't want other people knowing, but ends up being to the future that he helps solve crimes with his gifts. So I cannot wait to get more into this story. I think it's going to be a new favorite. Everyone is loving it so far. I'm loving seeing the buzz on Instagram right now about this book. So I can't wait to have my opinion for you guys, and maybe I'll do a separate review video for this book. Next up, another behemoth of a book is Wizard and Glass by Stephen King. This is the 4th novel in the Dark Tower series, and I would say this is everyone's favorite book in the series. This is the most talked about book, and it also takes another turn into the plot from what I've heard. So I can't wait to see where this series goes in this book, and this is another 800 and something page book. So between this and A Court of Silver Flames, I have my work cut out for me this month, but I think I'll get to it. I'm in such a reading mood. I think I'll be able to get them done. We shall see. We shall see. But like I said, 4th book in the series. I don't want to spoil too much, but very much excited for it. Next is a book that I've actually had like an arc of, and I never read it, and I'm upset about it, but I'm hearing so much buzz about it all over again. It has become a Barnes & Noble book club pick as well, and that is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. I think this author is such a genius when it comes to the horror genre. I think his writing is very close to Stephen King, and I feel that he is going to be right up there with the King one day. I love his writing so much, so I cannot wait to get into this story, and I heard it's really spooky. The only problem that I have is that there is, you know, animal stuff in here that I don't really like, abuse towards animals, things like that, but I think I can look past it. I'm starting to look past those things as I read more into the horror genre. it doesn't hurt as much as I continue to read some of that. In the beginning, I would always be like, nope, not reading that. It has animal death in it, or it has animal cruelty in it. But I think I could kind of look past that or skip over a couple pages as things are happening. And then next I have this thriller here, The Bone Keeper by Luca Vesti. This is like a haunted woods type story. It says, he'll slice your flesh, your bones he'll keep, the bone keeper's coming and he'll make you weep. That sounds so scary. What if the figure that haunted your nightmares as a child was real? 20 years ago, 4 teenagers went exploring in the local woods trying to find the supposed home of the bone keeper. Only 3 returned. Now a woman is found wandering the streets, horrifically injured, claiming to have fled the evil urban myth. And then a body turns up. Sounds really good. Not much to go off of, but it sounds like it's going to be a very, very thrilling horror suspense type book. So that is it for my March TBR. For the month of March, the Stacks of Strange Book Club is going to be reading The Echo Wife. So if you want to read along with us, I will leave all that linked down below. You could check out the Discord group. You could check out the Instagram for Stacks of Strange. And then also for Horror in 24, we are having a read with us in April. So definitely mark your calendars. We also have a Discord chat for that as well. And I will leave that link down below as well. But for Horror in 24, we are having Gabby from Gabby Reads as our guest host to read The Stand by Stephen King. Now we're incorporating our normal 24, and we're going to be reading The Stand by Stephen King in 24 days. So it's going to take place from April 12th to May 5th is our 24 days, and on May 6th we're going to have a live show on my channel at 7 p.m. where we're going to discuss everything The Stand related, and it's just going to be a really good time. I cannot wait for this read with us. I've been wanting to reread The Stand for a very long time, and I can't wait to read along with you guys, have you guys experience it either for the first time or for the second time, third time, however many times you've read The Stand. I'm really excited to experience this read along with you guys. And Gabby is guest hosting with us, which is really amazing. I love her channel. She's one of my favorite booktubers, and to have her a part of Horror in 24 for this read with us really means a lot. I feel like this video is going to be a little long, but that's pretty much it for the announcements for my channel and for Instagram and things like that. So just make sure that you're following Horror in 24 and make sure that you're following Stacks of Strange if you'd like to participate in any of the events that we have coming up. We will be having more events for Horror in 24 as the summer approaches as well. Let me know in the comments down below how you guys want to see a Horror in 24 readathon go down, whether it be another 24 and 4-day readathon or any other creative way that you guys could think of. I would love to know your opinions down below on how we could use the number 24 in a readathon. But other than that, I think that's all I have for you guys today. If you guys have any questions for me, you could always leave them in the comments down below. And if you like this channel and you want to see more from me, please make sure that you are liking and subscribing down below. It helps out my channel so much. And if you're interested in any of my book accessories, my link to my Etsy shop is down below as well. I am running a sale right now. Everything is 25% off to make room for all of my spring stuff. I have Stephen King t-shirts on there, book sleeves. I also have some bookmarks left over as well. So if you're interested in that, the link is down below. But on that note, guys, I will be talking to you guys all soon in my next video. Bye!